A seven nation army couldn't hold me back.
Welcome to the Heat versus the World podcast.
Taking
And now,
behind my back.
stand up and make some noise for your host, Joel Jacob.
Welcome, everyone. I really wish I could sound more happy when I said that, but it's not exactly looking like a good week right now. And in case y'all don't know why, because y'all been living under a rock these past few days, the Miami Heat are on a 7-game losing streak. And I mean, I'm not even going to say much about this past game against Phoenix. In case y'all didn't watch the game, first off, shout outs to you guys because y'all know what was best for y'all's mental health. At one point, the Heat was down by 26 at one point, on their home floor yet again. So there's that. Another fun game where the Heat play against a contender in Miami and they find a way to be down by 20-something points. So, things haven't really changed with that. Another fiasco like what we saw against Boston a few nights before that. And yeah, I mean, I really don't have anything more to say. It's definitely been a disparaging week to say none the least because the last time the Heat won a game was like what, January 15th? Like we're talking about 2 weeks now since the Heat have won a game, all right? And what's more insane is that it feels like already forever since Terry has been traded to the Miami Heat, and we still haven't won a game yet for him. So I kind of feel bad about that because I was kind of happy for him, like he was going to leave a situation like Charlotte to join a team like Miami, where now all of a sudden the expectations are a lot higher and he can finally contribute to a winning team. And I do believe he can, by the way. And I will talk about that more in today's episode. But, I kind of feel bad for him that this is how he has to start his new career with the new team. But hopefully, and I am confident, we will be able to turn things around. So there's that. Going into what's been going on these past few games for Miami, I just feel like this team, and you know what, if you believe trades should be made, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you. I think a couple moves can be made. I know one of the things many people have been pushing for these past few days is trying to maybe get an upgrade for Caleb. And it's not a surprise because in case y'all forgot, this dude Caleb is on an expiring, well, I can't call it an expiring contract, but he will be a free agent this summer. So you're in a situation where, as a lot of Heat fans have acknowledged, where you could potentially lose a guy like Caleb for nothing. And that's pissed off a lot of Heat fans. The fact that we go out and we develop these players into great role players, but then they leave the team for absolutely nothing. We get no like legit assets in return for them. We just let them go to wherever team, and yet we still have literally not enough assets to work with, when it's time to trade for a star or whatever. So Heat fans look at what we have with Caleb Martin and they're like, okay, if there's a good chance this dude is a free agent this summer and might walk from the Heat, why don't we get some assets for him? And I'm not really going to talk about much with trades. We will talk about that very soon, though, because the trade deadline is literally right around the corner. Today is more of a pod where we're just simply going to talk about this team and what should we expect moving forward, all right? Anyways, everything was kind of looking bad. We talked about last night and how everything just looked terrible for this team. The offense was looking mad clunky. You have the fact that this whole squad just doesn't know what to do here and there. The defense hasn't looked good. And not only do you have the fact that the offense been looking clunky, but, guys like Tyler has been struggling. Well, at least in this specific game he has. And then Bam has been going through a huge slump. And it's funny because it seems like he always goes through something like this, like sometime after the All-Star break, because this was the situation last year. And I'm not worried about it because Bam has always been able to break out of these types of slumps. So to any of you guys out there that's concerned about Bam or thinking, oh my gosh, we're screwed because, now Bam is going to be washed for the rest of the year. do not worry, all right? I'm confident in the fact we're gonna see the all-star Bam that he's been this year, and everything will be all right after that. We just gotta be patient with him. Obviously, it's frustrating to see how bad the slump has been because there were a couple times last night where I would see Bam play, and I'm like, wait, what's he doing right now? Because like we know how much of a great player Bam is. So when he made like a couple mistakes yesterday, it kind of disturbs you in a way because it's like, Bam, come on now. It's like you're used to making those types of buckets or stuff. You're used to doing this or that. So when you see him going out there, going through the slump and not being able to do the things that we know he can do, it's definitely a frustrating thing. But like I said, I am confident that we're gonna see the Bam that the all-star Bam that we know that he is. When will we see it? Hopefully real soon. God knows we need it as soon as possible. I don't know. Maybe God knew that he was eventually gonna go through a slump and was like, you know what? Instead of having you start this slump after the All-Star break, we're gonna have you go through it now, and then by the time these next few games roll around, you'll be good to go. So I don't know. I like to be optimistic, so there's that. But I have faith in Bam, and I really think we all gotta calm down with the slump he's been going through. I do think we will see him go back to the player that he once was and always will be. All right. All of that aside, now that we've gotten that out the way, I know a lot of people have been panicking about this squad, and I know there's already been certain people that thinks we should start the rebuilding process again, talking about trade Jimmy, this and that. And I just want to say to all those people, calm down, okay? If who y'all I don't think y'all understand. Kendrick Perkins literally just went on national TV today and said that exact same sentence. He literally just went on TV and told all the folks watching at home that the Heat need to move on from Jimmy Butler. If you agree with Kendrick Perkins on any statement that comes from his mouth, then chances are that you need to change your opinion because there's no reason why you should be listening to a guy like that in the first place, okay? And I will say this, the only time where I guess Kendrick is okay to listen to is when the playoffs come because y'all know he likes to hop on the Heat bandwagon and talking about how, oh, them goons from the Dade County, blah, 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 blah. Listen, okay, fine. You want to hop on the bandwagon, then that's fine. Okay, we're not gonna ignore the fact that you've been dogging our team every now and then before we made it this far. But if you want to hop on the bandwagon now, okay, go ahead and do whatever you want to do. All right, because the thing with Doc, no, I said Doc Rivers, my bad. If when you look at Kendrick Perkins, all of his opinions about the Heat have been pure stupidity. We don't even have to talk about what we've seen now with this Jimmy Butler thing and trading him, but go even before that. I mean, a couple seasons ago, there was the whole nonsense when the Heat played Philly in the playoffs, and he said that Eric Spoelstra was gonna get out coached by Doc Rivers of all people, bro. Doc Rivers, man. And I was literally doing cartwheels when I found out that this team over in Milwaukee decided to hire him as a coach because I'm like, okay, that's one team that we don't got to worry about. They might have Giannis, they might have Dame, but at least if they have a 3-2 lead against the Heat in the playoffs, we don't got to worry about our chances being cooked because we know Doc not going to hold on to that. Anyways, I'm not worried about the Heat, and I think people got to calm down with this whole let's rebuild the team, let's trade Jimmy, and let's just start fresh, all right? I have faith in this team, okay? You have Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Eric Spoelstra. You are going to be able to figure this out. I do wish that we can be able to make a couple moves or at least make some adjustments needed for the sake of letting this team operate in a more what's the word I'm looking for? In a more, I guess, loose way where everything is able to flow and not everything has to be so clunky. But I have faith in Spo. And right now, one thing we've been talking about for so long is the idea of having a guy like Tyler come off of the bench. And even after the 7-game losing streak, it seems like we're not going to see that happen just yet. Because in case y'all didn't see some of the reports that came out today, especially from Barry Jackson, the Heat have zero plans of breaking apart that Terry Rozier Tyler Hero backcourt. So to those who was pushing for that, I mean, we're not going to see it now, at least not as of just yet. And they do have hope that that duo can work. So I know what's going through Spo's mind while trying to make all these things operate. But if he genuinely has faith in the idea that those two can work together as a unit, then by all means, I'm just gonna ride with him and hopefully things will pay off. Speaking of all that, this team right now, there is some questions with it. We saw it on offense and also on the defensive end as well. And I mentioned Barry Jackson, and I want to bring him up again because he mentioned something during today's media coverage that really caught my eye when I saw it, and it was kind of encouraging news for me to hear. And to those who missed it, he went and tweeted, Bam said there was film session today with candid communication among everyone in which players were vulnerable with each other and they now have clarity. An intense, resolute, Spo said nothing discussed today was any of our business, and obviously none of us were offended by that, and which makes sense. To hear that type of stuff, I mean, we see players have like players only meetings, certain sort of types of convos to figure stuff out. But let's look back on that quote real quick. While this was only just a film session today, to see players open up and be what they put in quotes vulnerable with each other and feel like they have clarity, to me, that was comfortable for me to hear because it allows me to sit back and realize that, okay, this team is starting to figure things out. Okay. Things might not look good right now, but we are going into a right direction because there's now better communication with this team and they are able to now understand what is going on and hopefully they can fix it. Before I got on the pod today, I was talking to Kay who couldn't make it, and we had a good convo about this. When we talked about this certain report that came out from Barry Jackson, one thing we acknowledged was the fact that sometimes you got to go through these types of struggles just to be able to reach the point where you're able to find success. So this 7-game losing streak, as much as it sucks, especially the fact that this is the first time we've had such a losing streak since 2008, back when Pat Riley was our coach and back when Chris Quinn was still on our team and not an assistant for the squad, that tells me that maybe this team needed that in order to succeed. All right. We've seen this team deal with adversity. We've seen this team deal with losing streaks and being able to rise up from that. I'm confident in this team, and I'm hopeful that we are going to be able to figure out everything that's needed now to get everything right. And we're going to find that out tomorrow, especially because we have this game coming up against Sacramento, and it's not going to be easy, especially because in case y'all didn't hear the news by now, Duncan Robinson is going to be out for that game. He's in concussion protocol, so you don't have him for this. But I have faith in our squad. I think we will be able to figure something out and be able to get this win. Okay, it's not going to be easy. And I know a lot of people out there, especially me included, feel very discouraged by the way how everything is going right now. But I trust this squad, all right? And I don't know, maybe it's just me being an insane optimist right now, but I think we can figure this stuff out. It's not going to be easy, but we got to let Spo work his magic, see what type of adjustments can work for this team. If you can go out and you can make a trade, go out and do it. Who do I think should be the ideal names? I don't know. I don't know what the trade rumors have been for the Heat, aside from that one report about them allegedly pursuing a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith. But we have until February 8th to find out. And if the Heat still want to make moves, they can, because one of the positive things about the Terry Rozier trade, and it's something that I've mentioned in many pods and Biscayne breakdowns, is that this trade allows Miami to still look at their roster and decide, okay, we added Terry, but we could still improve this team. Let's look at these next few games and figure out what we got to fix now. So they've had enough time. They've had enough games to look at from the Terry trade all the way to present day now. And they'll have enough time from here until February 8th to look at this team and think, okay, Should we go after this guy? Should we make a trade and potentially bring a guy like this to the team? They will have a chance to go through all of that and see what's best for the squad. So overall, I'm not worried for this team. If we're still continuing to struggle and it gets very ugly at one point, at that point, I'll have to begin to lose faith. But this has been a team that's been able to prove me wrong many times in the past. And I don't know, maybe I'm being too optimistic. That is a possibility. And if y'all want to call me out for that, go ahead and do it. If something doesn't work, and God forbid it doesn't, had to knock on wood for that. Feel free to go to the comments of this pod, many weeks from now, and feel free to clown me for it. Bottom line, though, is that I have faith in this squad, and I don't know what's going to be the move for this team. If it's going to be the help of an adjustment, or if it's going to be what we saw with this film session that changes things for this squad. But I'm going to be patient. I'm going to I'm not going to figure everything out. That's the team's part. I'm going to sit back and let this team do what they got to do, let them figure everything out, and we're going to be good to go, because this is a team that knows how to shine when the lights are at its brightest, all right? We thought this team was out of it completely by the time the playoffs came around. If y'all watch this podcast, y'all saw what I had to say after we lost that game against Atlanta in the play-in last year. In case y'all wasn't there, I literally hopped on this mic and I told everyone listening to this and those who's on the pod with me that this Miami Heat team that lost that game to Atlanta, they were basically a sick dog that needed to be put out of its misery. I said that about that Heat team. The same Heat team that then proved me wrong and went all the way to the finals. I went and made that statement about. All right. I have faith in the squad because they were able to prove to me that there is life in this team, even when it looked like there was nothing left. Because I remember after losing that game against Atlanta, it got to a point where I didn't even know if I wanted the Heat to win the play-in game, because it was kind of like a pick your poison mentality I was running with. Because it's like, okay, do you win the play-in and potentially suffer a devastating first round defeat against the Bucks? Or do you just take your losses now and just simply lose to Chicago and, sit out the rest of the season and work with a lottery pick? What is it the Heat should do? And yet they proved me wrong. And that's what I love about this squad. They made what seemed like impossible possible. So, yeah, I am going to ride with this team and I am going to see things out. I'm not going to sit here and say that, we're going to 100% be all right, because obviously we don't know what lies ahead for the squad. But I'm going to sit back and I'm going to enjoy this team. And I'm going to let them do whatever they got to do, whether if it's making adjustments with the rotation, going out there and making another trade. Do whatever it is you gotta do. Like I've said before, just do whatever it takes and we'll be good. All right, that's why, like, to me, the most encouraging thing that I heard of all of today's stuff going on is the fact that our team was able to sit down and talk their issues like a squad. All right, because you know what, people talk about how 2022, there was that big fight between Jimmy and UD, right? Well, guess what happened after that fight went down? Things started to run smooth. We eventually went on a winning streak. We were able to figure things out, and we finished that regular season as the number one team in the Eastern Conference. Okay. I'm not saying that this whole thing is going to have us rise to number one seed, but we've seen how these types of issues and being able to sort them out like this is able to bring the best out of this squad. And not only with teams like the Heat, but with other squads as well. Look at the team that beat the 2022 Miami Heat, the Boston Celtics. They was looking god awful one point that year. But you know what? They figured stuff out. I'll never forget hearing the report, and I didn't pay much mind to it at the time, but they mentioned how they had this whole serious meeting and everything. It seemed rather intense, but they were able to figure out what they needed to figure out, and we saw how much it led them to. They were able to go to an NBA Finals, and they were 2 wins away from being able to win the championship. And please forgive me about that small sort of Celtics propaganda I just put out. Y'all know I mean well, and I only did that for the sake of, promoting my argument for the Heat. Overall, we're going to be in a good situation, okay? I need everyone to take a deep breath. and let's enjoy this season, okay? I know it's not the way how we wanted it to go so far because we were starting things off on a good note, but then the 7-game losing streak happens, and before you know it, we go from being 8 games above 500 to now only being 1 game above 500. It's not ideal, but like I said, I trust Jimmy Butler. I trust Eric Spoelstra, and I know Bam is going through something right now, but eventually he will break out of this slump, and we're going to see him ball out too. We're going to see the Bam that will be an all-star this year, and we're going to see why he was crowned an all-star in the first place as the season continues. So let's take it easy, man. We still got a long season ahead of us, and this team is going to be all right. I trust this squad, and I know we're going to shake a lot of people up. People out here hating on this team, and you know what? Let them do whatever they got to do, all right? You know, if you want to be like Kendrick Perkins and say that the Heat need to blow it up, that they need to trade Jimmy Butler, go ahead and be that type of person. But don't be surprised when the Heat start, you know, doing that thing they always do where they're able to flip the switch and suddenly everything changes up. Because then you're going to have a guy like Kendrick Perkins that wants to pull up to the party and be like, oh, I'm riding with them goons from the Dade County. Nah, man, stay to the side that you once was on. All right, you said that we needed to blow things up with Jimmy and everything. Stay on that side. All right, and we don't know what lies ahead this season. But like I said, I trust this squad, and I know we're going to be able to do some good things. All right, so bear with the Heat, guys. I don't know what lies ahead, and it's going to be a crazy season trying to see what ends up going on. But overall, man, we still got a lot of basketball left to be played. And I mean, come on, bro. We're gonna get through this, all right? So Heat Nation, throw away your Jimmy trades, okay? I don't want to see no Jimmy get traded to OKC for 4 first-round picks or whatever. We still have a chance to win a championship this year. I have faith in that, and I need y'all to bear with me, be patient with this squad, and let's let them figure this out, okay? This team that was playing some good basketball earlier this year, that team is still here right now, okay? For whatever reason, they're going through their struggles, and it sucks to see it, but they will get it together. I know they will. All right. My only concern is the fact that we haven't been able to perform well against some of these better teams in the NBA right now. I think like one of the main wins we've gotten against contenders was when we beat Philly back in Christmas Day thanks to the Jaime game. And then we beat Cleveland, who didn't have Donovan Mitchell, albeit I think we didn't have Jimmy or Bam for that game. So we haven't had too much statement wins against, you know, a lot of the good that are out there in the NBA compared to how it was last year, where we were picking up some significant wins against some really good teams. But like I said, now that this team has had a chance to talk to each other and open up about how they feel about the way how the squad is going and how we're performing as a unit, I have faith in this team. So let's all take a deep breath. Let's try to enjoy the season, and hopefully let's get this win tomorrow. I got faith in this team, and y'all should have faith in them too, all right? We saw what they did last year, and I'm not going to go on here and guarantee that they're going to completely repeat that thing, but who says they can't, right? Anyways, y'all, I know, like I said, man, take a deep breath. We will figure this out, okay? Thank y'all so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at JoelKJacob_. Make sure to follow Heat vs. the World on all platforms at HVTW Podcast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. And aside from that, y'all, let's take a deep breath. Go do whatever you feel like doing, man. Go outside, you know, take a deep walk or whatever. Do whatever you can to clear your mind, all right? Do whatever it takes to just simply clear your mind, because I'm telling you, better days are going to come for this squad, okay? Hopefully it can start tomorrow if we can break this streak against Sacramento. We'll just have to wait and see. But I'm telling you, do not lose hope with this Miami Heat team, okay? With that being said, hit my music, because we out.
Behind my back.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time with a brand new episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast.